What's the biggest mistake you've watched someone make in their personal life? My uncle got himself a mistress. Lent her $10,000 he never got back and lost his job defending her at work. Wife served him divorce papers short afterwards. He gave up his house to his wife. So he ended up jobless and homeless, sleeping on our couch at the ripe age of 60. Being passive and just letting everything happen to him. He wasn't sure if he wanted kids or not, but his girlfriend did, so they had sex without condoms. She got pregnant, with *** twins ***. He looks absolutely miserable. Similar things happened to him involving housing. His family convinced him to put the parents' mortgage in his name. Things got messy. And #X200B. Don't just let things happen to you. Single mother of 3 living in poverty. Gave her parents her $6,000 tax refund to hold on to because she didn't want her abusive ex to convince her to split it with him. Parents spent it all in weeks. My friend chose to have a child with a man who had cheated on her multiple times, while still in high school. Friend worked hard to gain the credentials to advance his career to his goals. It took 4 months for him to get busted having an affair with a subordinate and he lost all he worked for and ended up losing his license. Have a child with someone who fights them on their parenting style. Also cheated on my friend who was 8 months pregnant. They just got married too. A buddy that lived with me for a while got a car he couldn't afford because he was obsessed with image. Stopped making payments, tried to part out the car and report as stolen since he had the bright idea that would bring more money than just giving it back to the bank. Then got into check fraud, which landed him in jail. Been in and out of the system ever since, from stories I hear. Let go of a girl close to their wedding because of his idea of what a wife should be like. Lives in deep regret now as she married his friend and they're really happy whilst he has never found anyone else. My high school philosophy teacher cheated on his wife with my classmate. His daughter was in the year below us. She transferred schools out of embarrassment when her dad finally left the family to pursue a relationship with the 18-year-old. Yuck. My brother was getting scouted by northeastern colleges to play football after playing remarkably well in high school. He dropped out of high school 6 months before he graduated. Dump all of their savings, $30K or so, into random crypto at the height of the market. They were trying to get more money to put towards a house but lost a majority of it when things crashed. When their significant other found out they left. Watching right now. 2 co-workers are engaged and she is an absolute nightmare. I have known the guy a lot longer and cannot believe it has gone this far. One of my students was offered a 95% scholarship to Juilliard. They turned it down because they felt a 95% scholarship was a slap to the face, and instead decided not to go to school. Last I heard they weren't playing, and were working minimum wage, but talking about how good they used to be. I watched a wasted guy throw $2K on a single roulette number, lose it, withdraw $5K more, and put it on the same number and lose it and then stare at the table. All while on a cruise ship. Then I went and had an old-fashioned and it was wonderful. Baby trapping a married man. Man moved his family to another country. Now a single mother with no child support. One of my best friends walked out on his wife and 2 kids because a girl at the gym and him were having a relationship. As it actually turned out, she was just being friendly and chatting to him. No relationship, no mutual decision to be together, nothing. He misunderstood polite friendliness for flirting, and destroyed his own family for it. Going drunk on a floatable boat in the middle of the lake when you don't know how to swim, poor guy drowned. Edit, inflatable. It was my now brother-in-law's younger brother. I luckily wasn't there that trip. I just heard what happened. I can't imagine the trauma my bro-in-law has now. I'm actually glad I wasn't there because that would have fucked me up good. They had to pull out his body themselves. Saw an occasional drinking buddy start taking heroin at 34 years of age. Homeless within 6 months. The stupid cunt. Drugs. My friend's ex-husband had everything. A beautiful home on water, 3 beautiful kids and a very beautiful wife, a savings account with money in it. He was always a partier. But when things got bad, they got horrible. He abused his wife and children. They got divorced. They all lost everything. All because he tried meth. So a good friend of mine declined garlic bread the other day. That was pretty big mistake. It was good garlic bread too, the fool. Having a third kid, when you can barely afford the first two in order to save the marriage. Good friend messed around with a young Brazilian woman whose ulterior motive was to get married to stay in US. She got pregnant. He wouldn't marry her even after baby born, so she moved back to Brazil. He is now in his 50s raising a toddler that speaks Portuguese. I had a very talented high school student, he could create amazing paintings, and then the drugs came and he's not half the person he used to be. I hope he can overcome his addiction. My best friend didn't want to break up with a crackhead who literally stole from her to buy drugs, and who hit her once. Sad smiley. I managed to convince her eventually, but that was an ugly situation. Watched a guy lose everything because he decided to cheat on his girlfriend who was maybe 15 feet away. My parents getting remarried, to different partners, when they have yet to figure their own shit out. They still haven't settled on custody of my younger siblings after going on 7 years now, and my father's wife just moved out. A close family member who has the attitude of I'm an adult now, I can do whatever I want. He's barely an adult and wrecked his car twice, recently been in jail, getting kicked out of his apt in the next few days if he doesn't comply with rules, can't keep a relationship for more than a week. It's sad that he can't see how much his attitude/choices affects his life. Rush into a new marriage 1 year after his divorce, still getting to know the new spouse and finding they aren't as compatible as they first thought. LOL. My sister lost her 3 kids due to an addiction to methamphetamine about 5 years ago. She complains non-stop about how the system stole her babies, while smoking meth to this day. It's way better to stay single and lonely, than be in a relationship for relationship's sake. I've seen several people become less of themselves and completely devoid of their personality because they chose to be with the wrong partners. A bunch of us normal potheads in our 20s and 3 of the 4 of us decided to smoke black tar heroin. It didn't seem interesting to me as I loved pot and I'm not a grass is greener guy. That day was the first day and one decision to ruining all of their lives. It started a spiral that day that wiped out all of their respective futures. That moment has been burned in my memory for almost 20 years now. My youngest child's oldest friend, sweet, clever, funny, musical, could write code before most of his friends could count. Thought he could outsmart heroin. ODD. Coma for 7 weeks, on hospice for several weeks, woke up at about 65 lbs, 6'3", now paralyzed.